I don't usually respond to current events because I cherish living a slow life, slow and steady activism. And the news cycle is somewhat maddening. It's just too much, and frankly, I think they do it on purpose to fatigue us. However, I find it very troubling that there is a notable lack of reporting on ocean-related topics, and specifically on Trump's executive order to open up the Pacific Remote Islands Marine National Monument to commercial fishing. This came around the same time I got a request from one of my favorite nonprofits to paint an image for their new coral reef policy toolkit, and voila, an art explaining law video came to mind. So let's get to it. Opening up this marine monument to commercial fishing would be terrible for the planet and for Indigenous people all around the Pacific. It is one of the largest marine monuments in the world, and for good reason. It's a biodiversity hotspot, home to many endangered species, gorgeous coral reefs, and includes vital cultural heritage for Indigenous Pacific Islanders. The monument was created under the Antiquities Act, which gives presidents the power to designate national monuments on federal lands and waters to protect, quote, objects of historic or scientific interest, including significant natural, cultural, or scientific features, even entire ecosystems. It was actually Bush Jr. who designated the monument first in 2009, and then in 2014, President Obama expanded it significantly. And Trump wants to destroy this vital ecosystem and its cultural heritage with the stroke of a pen. But lucky for us, he's up against a lot, including a variety pack of laws and advocates just like you. That's right. In this situation, your watchful eye can be more powerful than an executive order. So here's what most people don't know about our ability to protect the Pacific Remote Islands Monument, as well as other protected areas. But first, rude kitty. Trying to make a video here. Alright, anyway. First, why this monument is important. It covers over 500,000 square miles of ocean, making it a major part of any international conservation goals, including 30 by 30. It's home to endangered Hawaiian monk seals, green sea turtles, seabirds, and rare deep-sea species. It is deeply tied to Indigenous Pacific Islander voyaging, cosmology, ancient and current cultural practices, and stewardship traditions. It plays a key role in global ocean health and biodiversity conservation. Basically, it's essential to a healthy ocean, which is essential to a healthy planet. Trump's argument that we need to fish more, if you look at any science, is unhinged. If we continue fishing at the current rate, every fishery in the world, every single one, is going to completely collapse by 2050. That's depressing, I know. I do have a Substack post about saving our high seas if you need to pick me up. Anyway, the good news is that for once, the law is on our side. First, the executive order is likely a violation of the Antiquities Act because it specifically allows presidents the authority to designate monuments, but says nothing of diminishing or revoking the protections. Courts have repeatedly held that the president's power to shrink or gut them is much more limited. And while people often argue that laws imply certain things, there's a much stronger argument to say that this law does not imply the president has the power to gut any of these monuments because Congress explicitly reserved that power for itself. There's also a lot of other laws that come into play, like the Endangered Species Act and the Marine Mammal Protection Act. Lots of lawsuits can happen here to prevent the fishing, including failure to protect critical habitat and failure to prevent take of endangered species under the ESA, and the harassment, injury, or death of marine mammals due to commercial fishing operations under the MMPA. These could separately block or limit commercial fishing activities within the protected area. There's also the National Historic Preservation Act, which requires the government to consult with Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander groups before rolling back protections on cultural sites and seascapes. And in that vein, there is a whole host of Indigenous rights claims that could be filed, including violation of treaty obligations that may overlap with this area, as well as the Executive Order 13175, consultation and coordination with Indian tribal governments, which requires federal agencies to consult with tribes when policies may affect them. But the big heavy hitter in this whole shebang is the National Environmental Policy Act. So essentially, any major federal action are bound by the procedures outlined in NEPA, which includes environmental assessments, environmental impact statements, and public review. So opening a protected area to commercial fishing is going to trigger NEPA. And this is because federal agencies like the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, they're the ones that have to authorize the fishing. And that is a major federal action. So they have to assess everything. And here's the thing about NEPA. In law school, my professors joked that it was the Keep Every Environmental Lawyer Employed Act because it's massive, it's big and arduous, and there are almost always grounds for a lawsuit, especially if there's any mistakes. And these things are super time-consuming, really labor-intensive, even when agencies are fully staffed. And guess what? They're not fully staffed right now because Trump has been gutting government agencies, especially NOAA and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And when they are lacking in scientific expertise and technical judgment, which is required under the Administrative Procedures Act, it really hurts their credibility in court. Any kind of rushed or shoddy environmental review, super easy to challenge and overturn. And given all of the posts I've seen from fired government employees, I wouldn't be surprised if the remaining staff chose to drag their feet, raise internal alarms, or strategically delay any harmful rollbacks just like this one. And these public servants do have protections that allow them to slow walk controversial projects within the rules, especially under NEPA's complex procedural demands. So fewer staff means higher risk of not being able to comply with all of the laws I mentioned, including the big bad NEPA. And also didn't even get to the Magnuson-Stevens Act, which is fishery law. But essentially, Trump really shot him in the foot by gutting the government agencies that would be the ones to enforce his executive order to allow fishing in protected areas. Even if he managed to somehow only keep staff who love him, if there are any, there just wouldn't be enough of them to comply with NEPA at the pace he expects his little scribbles to be followed. So the bottom line is that an executive order is just a piece of paper without the machinery to enforce it. If agencies are understaffed, demoralized, and otherwise legally entangled, even a determined rollback effort can collapse under its own weight. Public pressure, lawsuits, and watchdog oversight can be even more powerful when the federal agencies are weakened internally. And this is where you come in. Yes, you. Our collective eyes and ears are a powerful force for using the law to maintain protected areas. The link below to my Substack posts includes, essentially, a how to watch for NEPA red flags and report. The key pieces are to check and see if there's any environmental review at all. If a new rule just appears out of anywhere with no review, I can almost guarantee you it's illegal. You can check to see if the review is superficial Like if it's really short, vague, skips some obvious impacts like endangered species, coral reefs, it's probably not NEPA compliant, right? Environmental assessments and environmental impact statements are very detailed, technical, and they have to be made public. It can take months or years to complete them, so keep an eye out for rushed timelines. You can check the Federal Registrar, as well as the NOAA Fisheries website, USFWS Newsroom, and definitely your local news and advocacy groups. And if you see anything that looks suspicious, you can report it. You can make a public comment and report it to groups like Earth Justice, National Resources Defense Council, Pacific Environment, and definitely spread the word. The more of us that are watching, the better. Go to my Substack to have all the steps. Your voice matters.